This clip is brought to you by SaveWithConrad.com. How about this? Manny Fernandez is going to defeat Arn Anderson by DQ around the 7-minute and 15-second mark when Ole Anderson helps Arn double team Fernandez on the floor. During the bout, Ole, who joined the commentary team for the bout, said he and Arn were brothers, though the story at the time was they're cousins. Anyway, after the contest, Thunderbolt Patterson came out to question Ole about his tactics, with Arn jumping Thunderbolt from behind. Moments later, Thunderbolt gained the upper hand on Arn until Ole helped Arn double team him. Arn then held Thunderbolt down with Ole coming off the top. And as Ole tried it a second time, Fernandez clammed back in the ring to take the blow. Man, we're off to the races. So to just sort of add context to this, you've been working a program with Manny Fernandez, but your cousin or brother or whatever he is, Ole Anderson, is now in support of you when Thunderbolt Patterson comes down. And a lot of our younger listeners may not know the history of Thunderbolt and Ole. Catch them up as to why that was significant.
Well, they had went back and forth for years. You know, Thunderbolt was a big baby face in the Atlanta area. And, you know, Ole was a huge heel in the Atlanta area. And, you know, they had been back and forth. Now, the storyline of this time was Ole had been made aware that I was doing well, you know, and Anderson was doing well. And he had commented on it for a couple of weeks. And, you know, he had watched a match, I think, or something. And they had asked, you know, how do you feel about that? And he had finally started to tip in, you know, towards my favor. And, hey, well, the kid looks pretty good, you know, and you could just tell he was getting a little more interested. But in Georgia, still at that time, Ole had a good relationship with Thunderbolt. And when this thing went down, Ole made his decision. Hey, is it going to be Thunderbolt or me? And it was pretty clear that he chose me. And that was the only spark that they needed. And we were doing the wrong thing where Manny was concerned. And out came Thunderbolt and questioned it. And that was all the spark Ole needed to go back to where his roots were, you know, be an asshole, be an Anderson, and all that implies.
Well, I think also too, along the way back when they were even tag champs together, you know, Thunderbolt and Ole, I think they were NWA national tag champs, and now it's come to a head. Man, this is classic stuff. Later that night, of course, because the TV tapings were always an early matinee show. You're in Cincinnati, Ohio. You're working with Rocky Kernoodle, who, man, the whole Kernoodle family are in our thoughts and prayers with everything that's happened this year. A couple of days later, you're back in Greenville at the Memorial Auditorium, this time working with Rocky King. You find yourself on April 10th taking on Manny Fernandez back at the Dorton Arena. It's a double shot kind of day, though, because you're also in Pittsburgh working with Sam Houston. And Sam Houston in 85 is he's still a little wet behind the ears, shall we say, but he's coming into his own. Fans are with him. He's a typical white meat baby face. The girls are all about him. And it felt like a year later, he was going to be poised for a big, big push, but eventually he marries Baby Doll and has a run with the WWF. And I think a lot of people look at Sam Houston now in hindsight and say, man, what could have been? What say you?
Yeah, I mean, Sam was, to deny that he was a very good babyface and he sold well and had a lot of babyface skills. And you just look at him and he looked young in the face because he was young. And in those days when you had guys like that and you had, you know, the Brad Armstrongs and the Tim Horners and all those guys working those underneath spots, but were very, very talented. You know, you could give those guys a win or two on TV and, man, they were golden. They were set. And it always made for a good opponent on television. And when those guys would upset like a middle of the card guy, they went from being an underneath guy to a middle guy, just like that. Click, boom. And Sam was one of those guys. He was, you know, he sold really well, and he pulled the audience into the fact that, hey, this guy's getting his ass kicked. We might want to cheer for him, or this is going to be over pretty quick. And that was pretty much the mentality of young baby faces. They should make the audience want to cheer to assist them in what was going on because they're getting their ass handed to them.
Hey, it's Conrad Thompson. Thanks for checking out the podcast here on YouTube. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notifications bell so you get a notice anytime we upload some new content. And go save yourself some money right now. If you're in a 30-year loan or you have credit card debt, it's not a matter of if I can save you money. It's a matter of how much. Find out right now for free at SaveWithConrad.com.